Welcome back. President-elect Trump making more key cabinet appointments over the weekend, naming oil executive Chris Wright for Energy Secretary, Brendan Carr to lead the Federal Communications Commission. Donald Trump Jr. joined me on Sunday Morning Futures yesterday talking about his father's cabinet picks. Watch this. Matt Gaetz has certainly sparked lots of conversation, as has Pete Hegseth and RFK Jr. Do you expect Matt Gaetz to face pushback?
I think a lot of them are going to face pushback for the same reasons. Again, they are going to be actual disruptors. That's what the American people want, but Washington, D.C. doesn't want that. So there's going to be pushback. There's going to be a lot of money spent. It will all be artificial, but that doesn't mean we won't have to deal with it, because that's how Washington, D.C. works.
Joining me now is South Carolina Congresswoman Nancy Mace, a member of the House Oversight, Armed Services, and Veterans Affairs Committees. Congresswoman, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here this morning. What do you make of these picks? Do you think Matt Gaetz gets confirmed?
Well, I think that I support all of Donald Trump's picks, including Matt Gaetz. This is a disruptor, just like some of the other picks that Trump is looking at. I think that the public scrutiny, he'll be able to answer questions when there is a Senate confirmation. But this was a mandate by the American people. He won the majority of the popular vote. He won all 7 swing states. And we're seeing people celebrate still today, 2 weeks later, his victory.
Yeah, well, for sure. I guess the confirmation hearings will begin early January. And then we will, of course, see them take place throughout the inauguration, January 20th. The Pentagon, meanwhile, failing its 7th audit in a row, Congresswoman. They're unable to account for nearly $830 billion budget. I mean, let me just say that again. They are unable to account for an $830 billion budget. This is insanity. The Undersecretary of Defense, comptroller, claims that the department is making progress toward a clean audit in 2028. I want to get your take on what the heck is going on at the Pentagon as we first hear from co-leader of the incoming Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, Vivek Ramaswamy, joined me yesterday. Watch. Are you expecting to close down entire agencies like President Trump has talked about the Department of Education, for example? Are you going to be closing down departments?
We expect mass reductions. We expect certain agencies to be deleted outright. We expect mass reductions in force in areas of the federal government that are bloated. We expect massive cuts among federal contractors and others who are overbilling the federal government. So, yes, we expect all of the above. And I think people will be surprised by, I think, how quickly we're able to move with some of those changes, given the legal backdrop the Supreme Court has given us.
So, Congressman, I want you to take on these two issues. First of all, the Pentagon and these failed audits. Where's the $830 billion?
Right. Well, the Pentagon has never actually passed an audit. Can you imagine the average American when the IRS comes in and they fail audit after audit? They'd face massive fines or charges from the IRS. And, you know, they need to be accounted for, every single dollar, every penny.
And do you think that's going to change? I mean, I mean, Pete Hegseth coming into the Department of Defense could obviously represent real change here. But what's the problem? Why can't they pass an audit?
The problem. Well, the problem is no one's ever held accountable. No one's ever fired when they can't find the money or when there's massive fraud or waste. These bureaucrats have been running the country for decades, and it's not working. And so Donald Trump, I see, he's not a threat to democracy. He is absolutely a threat to the bureaucracy that's been in D.C. for decades, and this can't come fast enough. This should be a use it or lose it type of theme when the new administration and these disruptors come in. There's so much that we can change and be far more efficient. We shouldn't be spending millions of dollars in Russia, for example, to train cats on treadmills. That's the kind of thing your U.S. tax dollars has been paying for, including puppy parts and wet markets in China. We don't need to be doing that. There's so much waste across the board.
It's unbelievable. But, I mean, look, I'm sorry, but you and your colleagues are the stewards of this, right? You're supposed to be representing the people. So what? It's gone off the rails. If we've got all of this money that's being appropriated and it's actually nonsense.
I agree with you, Maria, which is why I always vote against these spending bills, the massive omnibuses and continuing resolutions that continue the drunken spending for years. I voted against every single measure because I'm not going to go along to play along. I don't have friends in Washington. I'm not there to make friends. I'm there to work for the American people.
Okay. Well, we're going to be watching your work because something's got to give here. We can't keep saying, well, oh, we can't find the money. Oh, we wasted more money. It's outrageous. Right. And the good news is that the American people are now onto it. Meanwhile, President Biden authorized Ukraine to use U.S.-provided long-range weapons to strike deep inside of Russia. It's the first time that this has happened, just weeks before President-elect Trump returns to the White House, so now he's actually moving. The Kremlin responding this morning saying this would escalate the war. Donald Trump Jr. posted this on X, saying this: the military-industrial complex seems to want to make sure they get World War III going before my father has a chance to create peace and save lives. Congresswoman, your reaction?
Well, I am deeply concerned about Trump's ability to diffuse a situation with his inauguration just weeks away here. The policy change just in the last few weeks of the year is concerning, but obviously we also want Ukraine to win, and there has to be a balance here. We'll see what the next few weeks, what happens in the next few weeks with this new policy. But
do you agree what Don Jr. is saying, that it's basically, look at all of this, like the fire is escalating. Trump is inheriting a Mideast on fire.
Yes, Trump is inheriting many conflicts overseas, to include Hamas vis-a-vis Israel, the Houthis, Hezbollah. Trump has said that he wants peace in Ukraine and wants to negotiate that peace deal. And what this will do is escalate, I do believe, over the next few weeks, escalate tensions overseas. No one wants World War III. We all want peace. This stuff has to end. But also the policy of Biden changing this at the last minute is deeply concerning for me. And I have questions as we go into the next couple of weeks on House Armed Services. I have a lot of questions on what's happening overseas and how our U.S. military assets are going to be utilized right in the days before Trump is sworn into office.
What do you believe to be the priority of the 119th Congress?
Well, I hope that the priority of the 119th Congress is putting the American people first. That is inflation and spending, illegal immigration and border security, but also women's issues. I represent a district where I won 4 years ago by 1 point. I overwhelmingly won this year by 17 points because I've been talking about and legislating on the issues that the majority of voters care about in my swing district, and that should be the priority of the next Congress. We'll see if we can deliver. It's going to take a lot of work and a lot of tough decisions, and people needing to have the backbone to make really tough decisions and tough votes to do right by the American people and put them first and put Donald Trump's agenda first. That's what this is about. It was a mandate.
Do you expect his nominees to pass muster with the Senate?
I don't. Actually, and this is what, I'm deeply concerned about his disruptors being able to get confirmation vis-a-vis the Senate. This is what he wants. It's what the American people wants. I want to see transformational change in the future of this country. We got to walk ourselves back off this cliff that we're jumping off of with the Biden-Harris administration. But I'm deeply concerned that Washington will do what it always does, is put the same people in place, keep the bureaucrats in power, and not do right by the American people. And I'll be there, standing in the brink, making sure everybody knows what's really going on in Washington and exposing it every step of the way.
All right, Congresswoman, we'll be watching your work. Congratulations to you. Thank you.